Wow, thank you guys. Better than I could ever imagine. Oh, all right, so if I pass out, y'all just run this way, okay? Try not to, but it could happen. You'll have to forgive me because I'm going to start off really fast because I'm so nervous right now. And as I go, I hope to slow down. If I don't, just try to keep up, I guess. But I always start talking fast and I can't help it because I'm really, really nervous tonight. But I kind of want to take you a little journey through my life and how God's worked in my life and just where He's got me at today and how He's using me and just how much I rely on Him today. So I'm going to go way back for a minute, a long way back. My mom's going to get a kick out of this. But back in 1969, my mom and my dad had been married for about 5.5 years. And they were living in Mississippi. And my sister was about 2.5 at the time. And my dad was in the Air Force. And he decided he wanted to be a boom operator in the Air Force, cross-trained. He was doing one thing already and wanted to do that. But to do that, he had to go to Sacramento, California. And he goes to do his cross-training to be a boom operator. Well, he calls my mom just out of the blue and says, you know what, I want a divorce. Took my mom by surprise. She didn't know what to do. After a time, and I want you to remember this is all in 1969, which is kind of crazy once you hear everything, but all in the same year. So my mom and my sister ends up moving back to Warner Robins, Georgia, where we were from, and he stays in Sacramento. Well, towards the end of 1969, he goes to Warner Robins, Georgia, where they're at, and he reconciles with my mom and begs her to come back, and they get remarried in 1969 again. So that is late 69. Well, then they all moved to Sacramento, California, where he was cross-training. In about December of 69, she got pregnant. Fast forward to September 9th of 1970, she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Before even a year after September 9th, about August of 71, my dad got tired again and didn't want to be married, so he shipped all of us back to Warner Robins, Georgia. That's where we ended up. So now fast forward a little bit further than that. In 77, I was in the first grade. I ended up being a little bit older than the other kids because of my birthday. You had to be 6 by September 1st, and I turned 6 September 9th, so they didn't let me join the first grade. I had to wait a year. But we're having parent lunch day, and I remember it very well. And it was no big deal that my mom wasn't with me that day because my mom worked as we were kids. She had no support from my dad, nobody to help her out. My grandparents tell me, don't get me wrong, I say nobody, but no help from my father at all. No money, no phone calls, no nothing. So my mom worked, and me and my sister understood that. It was just no big deal. It was just another lunch day for me. But as a guy sitting there eating with his dad, he looks over at me and goes, hey, where's your parents? And I simply said, my mom's at work. He said, oh. Well, just a few minutes after that, he says, well, where's your dad? And for that split minute, I thought, where is my dad? And I said, I don't know. And he says, you don't know where your dad's at? And I says, not a clue. He says, he doesn't live with y'all? Not that I know of, he doesn't. And then he says, well, have you ever seen him? And I said, no. And he says, do you ever talk to him? I said, no, don't talk to him. He goes, that's kind of weird. And I thought to myself, you know, that is kind of weird. So that kind of started that bug in my ear, where is my dad? So for the next couple of years, I just tried to get what information I could get about my dad. And if you was to ask my sister about my dad, he was a monster. In her mind, he was a monster, he was a bad guy, so there was no help for me there. To me, I didn't know what he was. If you was to ask my mom, she would say he worked a long way away, he was busy, he's in California, and kind of play it off that way. If anybody else spoke about my dad, it was pretty much, you look just like him. I mean, literally, they would always say, it looks like Sammy Coatney spit you out, you look just like him. And that's all I would get. So you would get them little tidbits, and that's about it. But in my mind, I had come up with a man that was tall, dark, slender, just, I guess in the terms today, he had all the swag you could want. He was the man. He was Superman in my head. Never seen him. I never talked to him. Didn't know who he was. But in my mind, he was the best of all best. You couldn't tell me otherwise. He was my dad. And I just wanted to meet him. That was about it. So as we're going, comes Thanksgiving of 1978. And my mom comes home from work and sits me and my sister down on the couch. And she says, I got something to tell y'all. I said, okay. And she says, your dad called and he wants to see y'all. And at that moment when she said it, all I heard right then was something screaming in my ear saying, no, no. And it was my sister saying, you can't make me go see him. I won't go see him. It's not going to happen. I'm not going. But in my mind, all I'm thinking is, yes, the day has finally come. I knew it would. And all I started thinking from that moment on is I will be the best son ever that he's ever seen. And he'll never leave me again. I'll never have to worry about him not wanting to see me because I'm going to do it all right. I'm going to say yes, sir, and no, sir. I'm going to stand up tall, and I'm going to be that son that every dad would just want to be. And that's all I thought. Well, a couple of days went by, and my mom and my grandma got together, my nanny, and they took me to Tuscaloosa. And I remember the whole ride over there, all I kept thinking is I'm going to do my best. No matter what, I'm going to stand up tall. I'm going to be the son that this dad wants, and I'm going to have a dad in my life. Very exciting. So we ride over there. We get to Tuscaloosa, and I remember we walk in, and there's my dad. For the first time in 8 years of my life, I see my dad. He's tall, he's dark, he's handsome. He's everything in my mind that I'd ever thought of. He's the guy. There he is. I can hear him. I can touch him. I can hug him. There's my dad. A calm came over. It was the best thing in the world. And the few days we spent in Tuscaloosa, there was 3 things that just kind of stuck out to me as that trip happened and after it was over. But one thing that stuck out is when I was with my dad, he would buy me anything I wanted. I mean, it didn't matter what it was. If I even kind of looked and went, ooh, he'd say, oh, you want to put that in the car. I mean, the whole time I was there, no matter what it was, he would buy. And the other thing I remember about on that note is that he was sticking money in my pocket all the time. And I'm not talking like dollar bills or quarters. I'm talking about he was sticking $100 bills in my pocket all the time. And on top of that, his mom, my grandma, was doing the same thing. The second thing I remember about that trip is my nanny and my mom. No matter where I went, one of them was right here. I mean, it was like that shadow right there. Everywhere I went, one of them was there with me. And I remember sitting on the couch at my grandma's house, and I look over at my nanny and I said, I got to go to the bathroom. She says, okay, baby. And as I'm getting up, she gets right up with me. And I'm like, no, I'm going to the bathroom. She says, I know, baby, I'm going with you. Okay. So we walk to the bathroom, and as we get there and I get in the bathroom, I go to shut the door, and her foot's between the door and the door jamb. And I simply say, Nanny, I got to use the bathroom. She says, I know, baby, and you're going to use it with this door crack. I thought, okay, whatever. So I used the bathroom, and on the way back, there's my nanny. And that's it. And then I remember another time sitting there, my 2 cousins, Kim and Kelly, was playing out back in my grandma's backyard. And I'm getting up, and I said, hey, I'm going to go in the backyard and play with them. And as I get up, I hear my nanny tell my mama, Janice, and Mom's like, oh, well, come on, I'll go with you. And I was like, well, I'm just going in the backyard. I know, but I'll go out there with you. And she was right there with me the whole time. And then the third thing that I remember about that trip that really didn't hit me until the ride home is the whole time I was in Tuscaloosa with my dad, I never, ever called him Daddy. Not one time did I say the word Dad, Daddy, Pops, Father. I didn't say any of that. I never called him Daddy. And as that resonated in me, I thought I had messed up. I thought the whole time I was being the best son I could be, but I messed up because I never called him Daddy. And it broke my heart because I thought how he felt. I thought about, man, he's thinking right now that my son never called me Daddy. I can't believe that. I'm trying to think what he's thinking, and it's just breaking my heart. And as we go back to normal life and everything gets back going, Christmas rolls around, we don't hear from him. January rolls around, February, March, and I'm just broke now. I've ruined it. I messed it up. It's my fault. It's my fault that now he's not a part of my life. It's my fault that he's not part of my life. I did. So April rolls around of 79, and I'm at my grandma's house, my nanny's house, and we're sitting there, and the phone rings. She gets off the phone, and she calls me and my sister in there, and she says, I need to talk to y'all. We said, okay. She sits us down, and she says, your dad's passed away. And I thought to myself, no, he hadn't. We just saw him just a few months ago. She said, no, your Aunt Shirley just called. He died a few days ago, and we'll have to get up and go to Tuscaloosa for the funeral. I said, no, you got to be wrong. We just saw him just a few months ago. She said, no, baby, he's passed away. And at that moment, I'm mad at the world. I get up, and if I could have found a sleeping dog, I would have kicked that dog as hard as I could, because I'm mad at everybody. I don't care what it is, I'm mad. And I don't really know at that time what I was mad at, but as it went on, I was just mad because I didn't call him Daddy. And now in my mind, I knew I would never have that opportunity to call him Daddy again. And it broke my heart. And it did things to me that I can't explain to you tonight, but it really did something inside of me to mess me up for a while. So it just, no matter what I could do, I couldn't get over not calling him Daddy, and it just wouldn't leave me. But one thing that I said from that day, well, let me go back. When we went to the funeral, I'm standing there, and one thing that really hurt me and put a lot in me was, as I'm standing there, there's two gentlemen talking in the funeral home. And I remember like it was yesterday, and the guy goes, I can't believe Sammy did what he did. And the other guy goes, well, I never really heard what he did. What did he do? And he said he blew his brains out. And again, the only thing I could think of, if I would have just called this man Daddy one time, I wouldn't be doing this right now. I wouldn't be in this funeral home. I wouldn't be in this situation. Everything would be better. But what that did to me as time went by is I always said to myself, I'll put my kids first. No matter what happens, I'm going to put my kids first. And that just resonated in me. I was going to be, let's see, 79, I was going to be 10 or 9 that year. So all I thought after that is my kids and what they won't go through, but what he put me through and what I felt like I put him through. It was hard, especially for me being that young. But me and my sister was a little bit more mature for our age because my mom worked all the time. We stayed at home a lot by ourselves, or we cooked by ourselves, but it's like I understood. Well, a couple of years passed by, and we're going to church at Green Acres Baptist Church. And I was 12 years old, and I accepted Christ. Well, I told my mom I wanted to accept Christ. A lot of the guys there was doing it, a lot of my friends. So a deacon at the time at Green Acres, which was Hansel Averitt, came to our house and walked me through the process, and I said a prayer. And as I said that prayer, it was my mouth speaking. And my heart was just my heart. Nothing had changed there, but my mouth said what it said. The next Sunday, I got baptized, and I was saved. That's how I got saved, I thought. But nothing had changed. I still hated the world. I still would have kicked a sleeping dog if I could have found it. And I still didn't understand why in the world this was happening to me. Why give me the opportunity to meet my dad for 3 or 4 days and then take that away from me? Why not just never meet him? And as we're going to church at Green Acres, I'm thinking to myself, now I'm kind of blaming God for it. God, if you're so great, why would you do that to me? What did I do to deserve this? I couldn't figure that out. Well, you skip along many years, and I have Zach and Gracie. And they're just like I've always said, my kids came first. I told them every day, I love you more than anybody can ever love you. I'll do more for you than anybody ever do. I'll protect you. I will guide you. And every day of your life, you will know that I'm your daddy, and I'm going to take care of you. Nobody will ever get between me and you. And I told them that every day of their life. Every day. Gracie would tell you, Zach would tell you, my daddy loves me more than anybody. And I'd say, that's right. You don't have to worry about that, no matter what. So then you go around about 3 years ago, if you came and looked into my life, if you came to my house and looked in my front window, the first thing that would come to mind is you're looking into the American dream. Nice big house that we have, 2 nice cars in the garage, 2 great jobs, 2 beautiful kids. We would pay our bills, and at the end of the month we'd have a little bit left over. That's what we all work for, right? Pay our bills and have a little bit left over. That's what you saw when you looked at my house. My life was perfect. Nothing was wrong. I loved it. We were living for that. That's what we wanted. That's what we had. We had it all. It was great.